Hello and welcome to the Worn and Wound podcast. My name is Blake Buettner, and I am joined virtually in studio today with Mr. Zach Kazan. Hello, Zach.
Hey, Blake. How's it going?
Good. How's the weather up there in Concord?
It's fine today. It's I think it's seasonally appropriate. It feels like a crisp,
seasonally
late fall
appropriate.
Day. Yeah,
that's about all you can ask for. And we've got Thomas Calara in here too. Thomas, how you doing? How you holding up?
Hey, what's up? What's going on, fellas?
Not much. This is the first podcast we're recording right after Thanksgiving weekend, of course. So we're all kind of just coming back into the office and getting ourselves set up with some new watches, getting our head back into watches. Do you guys think about watches at all when you're on holiday?
Honestly, not really. It's kind of nice to unplug and take a little bit of a break. I didn't really spend a lot of time thinking about watches over the weekend.
Yeah, I try not to, but then that's like my whole IG feed is just filled with watch accounts. So maybe I just need to like have a separate account, to that doesn't have like watch accounts,
So you're on holiday with your family, still scrolling through your IG feed, doing all that stuff. Or do you just need to get away?
Sometimes, like if the mac and cheese is just like waiting in the oven, you just gotta have some time, kill some time, scroll through the feed.
Okay.
So you're saying that you don't touch IG at all?
Well, I don't. So where I'm at for Thanksgiving is kind of remote, so I don't have very good internet access there. So it's kind of out of my hands, which is nice. And just to clarify, quick, you eat macaroni and cheese for Thanksgiving?
Yeah, I mean that's part
Here
of.
we go.
Okay.
Well, it's not just any macaroni and cheese. It's got like 4 different types of cheeses.
It's not like the Kraft mac and cheese from the blue box.
No, it is not Kraft. Although that I could enjoy a nice box of Kraft macaroni and cheese.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Extra butter. Yeah. That's the secret.
Butter.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to be clear there. Zach, do you eat macaroni and cheese for Thanksgiving?
That is not traditionally part of our Thanksgiving meal, but it's that's a perfectly appropriate Thanksgiving side. I think a lot of people
Thank
do
you,
that.
Zach.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough. I'm not judging anybody. So it was just an unusual appearance there. So
and let's be clear. I don't do any of the cooking. I'm just like on watch.
You have no say in the matter anyway. So
no, I just like make sure stuff doesn't burn when it's in the oven or if it's on the stove. So.
Okay.
Don't blame me for the
every now and then.
Yeah. I don't create the menu, so don't blame me.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. There are worse things I suppose you could be eating on Thanksgiving.
That's very true.
Wait. So Zach, did you wear a watch over Thanksgiving? What are you wearing now?
Oh,
what do
yeah.
you got
Of course I wore a watch. I mean,
you wore a watch. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not. I'm always wearing a watch. I just, a lot of the times, like during like the work day, like I'm thinking about watches all the time. It's literally our job. But like this is Thanksgiving's a little break from that, so I don't. I have other things going on. I have other interests. I focus on family and relaxing. And but today, to answer your question, I'm wearing a watch that's new to me. I don't think I've worn it on the podcast yet. It's a IWC 3706 chronograph that I picked up a few weeks ago.
I love it. Yeah, are you still enjoying this watch?
Still, yeah. No, I basically. So I wore this like all through Thanksgiving weekend. Really hasn't been off my wrist too long since I picked it up. I picked it up when I was in New York most recently to work out at the office. I saw a mutual friend of all of ours post his for sale on Instagram. I won't mention who that is in case he doesn't want to be named, but he's a kind of an industry friend of ours, and so I picked it up. It was just kind of the perfect timing.
Yeah, that's a watch. That's a good Thanksgiving watch to just kind of throw on and forget about over the course of like a long stretch. It's a good watch that kind of flying under the radar. I've found.
No, I love this watch. I reviewed yours last year for the website, so we'll link to that obviously. And I've kind of always loved it, and I've sort of been casually looking for one, for a while, and like I said, the perfect timing. It all kind of worked out.
Yeah, no, that's great. Congrats again. A watch that I think we're all very fond of. And as you mentioned, I still love mine. And actually, my wife wears mine too. When she goes over to Switzerland for work trips and stuff like that, she usually takes it and wears it. So, yeah,
Nice.
great watch. Would love to see them return to that form factor as well. I wonder what some of their modern designs would look like in that packaging. Thomas, what do you got on?
Today I have on my Seiko SNE 573. It's the solar diver. It's been a year and change now since I've had that. And yeah, this was just a watch I just kind of throw on when I just, like you had mentioned, just, you want something under the radar, you don't want to worry about it. It's always the right time. So it just ends up working out that way. And I think, lately I've just been toying with the idea of just kind of consolidating the collection. And
Really?
the
Okay.
the 573 is something that's just, it's just kind of there. It just kind of fits, like it fits all the, if it kind of fits all the things I want in a watch. It's like the right size. It's subtle. And there's the quartz movement that's just, there's just something about like having that like right time all the time, if it's not
Yeah.
daylight savings time.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's a charming watch overall. I think it's got kind of like a great look to it as well, which is kind of like a look that I think a lot of us associate with like a great Seiko dive watch. It's got that look down pat. I think I've been wearing one as well quite a bit lately. It's the SPB 317. It's not a solar diver, but it's kind of like somewhere in between those SPB. What are those that we have? The 149, is that what it is? Those
Oh
those
yeah,
kind
the 62 Moss.
yeah, the 62 Moss,
yeah.
and then the Willard cases. This is a watch that kind of like sits between both of them, and I really have come to like this case quite a bit. And I know that it's kind of like Seiko releases a lot of divers and a lot of different references and all this kind of stuff, and they're all kind of the same. Like no. I there's something really charming about this watch that I've really come to enjoy. I wore this most of my Thanksgiving break. I was at a kind of a rural farm, as I alluded to earlier, in Kentucky, not too far from the border of Tennessee. So this is a great watch to kind of put on and just kind of forget about it and have a casual rural Thanksgiving with. Never felt out of place on a NATO strap. And again, it doesn't like call all that much attention to itself. And it's just a Seiko. People see it, and it doesn't really invite a lot of like queries or anything like that. But I took it off here momentarily. We just got into the office a new watch from Baltic that I was giving a try. It's a new Tricompax Panda. So just today they revealed a Panda and a reverse Panda dial of the Tricompax. The Tricompax is, of course, a watch that was released earlier this year, a limited edition of 300, a collaboration with Peter Otto. It has the orange and yellow accents on the dial. It came with the handheld flyback timer. It's a very cool bit of kit. We reviewed that and talked quite a bit about it, so we can link to that below. So this is the non-limited version of that watch. So they made as I mentioned, a Panda and a reverse Panda dial version of it. It's a little bit less expensive. The pre-order opens, I believe, December 1st and closes December 11th or something like that. And they will make multiple batches of it. So, it's just missing the color of the LE, and it's exactly as good looking as you would imagine it would be. Kind of a very classic like Panda dial 3-register chronograph. It's got Baltic's kind of nice design language, which is kind of like modern chic or something like that, maybe, right? Even though it's kind of like in the confines of like this mid-century sport watch, like there's something about it that doesn't that keeps it like well enough away from looking like kind of a vintage throwback type watch, at least to me. Like I think they practice just enough restraint to kind of keep it in their own territory. I don't know if you guys feel the same way. I mean, from 10 feet away, it does kind of look like a 6241 or any other kind of like sport chronograph of the 70s. But like a closer look, I feel like there's enough kind of like fresh, small details that keep it interesting to me. What do you guys think of this watch?
Well, I think it's very nice. I mean, I haven't seen the the new one that was just announced today in person. I'm kind of jealous that you have it right there in front of you. But when I saw the that limited edition that they made a few months ago when we had one in the office, I put it on and I like immediately thought this is the best watch Baltic has made. Like that, I think I literally said that to you, and I'm pretty sure I posted that on Instagram. And when I posted a wrist shot, like the proportions are just really great. And I think you're right, Blake. It does kind of like it looks old, but it feels like it straddles a line between like something that's vintage and kind of contemporary feeling in a way that is kind of tricky to do and tough to articulate until you actually like get it on your wrist. But it's very nice. I look forward to seeing these new ones. It's kind of a bummer that some people who order will not get theirs until I guess September of next year because of the way they're doing this in batches. So that's a bummer. I kind of it's just too bad. But certainly a very nice looking watch aesthetically.
Yeah, I agree with you there. That is tough. But maybe one of those things that you kind of you're excited about, you get, and then you kind of forget about it, and then a day rolls around and it's great. Which dial configuration would you go for? Would you go for the Panda or the reverse Panda?
I kind of like the cream base style with the black subdials.
Okay, yeah,
that one. That's the one I think I would go for if I had to choose.
Do they both come? Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, go ahead, Thomas.
No, I was going to say, like, do they come on... They both come on a stainless steel bracelet as well, or?
So you can get them either on a just like a leather-ish strap or this flat link steel bracelet, and the price goes up. I don't know, $60-$70, something like that. It's about $1,500. I think so, slightly less than, if memory serves, than the limited edition. It's got the Sellita SW510 hand-wound movement. It's 39.5 millimeters, but that's at the kind of flared out bezel, so it sits a bit smaller than that on the wrist. It's really lovely dimensions. Thomas, I know you're not a huge chronograph guy, but what do you think of these things?
No, I think I agree with both of you. It's both of these are just handsome, and I do agree with you. Like Baltic just does a great job with kind of like using these influences from mid-century sports watches, but kind of using their own design language. It's tough because, like you said, I'm not a chronograph guy, but when you do look at their divers, they do use these like Seiko adjacent markers, I guess. Which is kind of like, for me, it kind of like differentiates their watches, but it kind of adds that like modern touch to their divers. But looking at their chronographs here, it's just it's hard, because like I don't have a reference for like vintage chronographs, just because that's just not my speed. But but it's a handsome looking watch. That was a question that I had when they released the limited edition chronograph. But I'm just kind of bummed that we don't get stopwatches or the with these. So
yeah, that was a nice little touch on the last one. Though I will say mine have been in the drawer. I haven't found a place for them. I need to find. I want to get like some strings, like maybe some like leather string or something to hang them from atop my desk, just because they're beautiful objects and they're fun to play with. So, but yeah, that was certainly a nice touch. That is not on this one. So that's interesting. So you said it's not really your speed. The kind of this era of sport chronographs. So I kind of envy your eyes being able to come at a design like this kind of fresh with no other context. Like when you see it and you're not immediately kind of thinking of, oh, it's got like this from this reference and that from that reference and this or that. Do you see a watch that looks like it's trying to be kind of old, or do you see a watch that just kind of looks, I don't know, modern?
I think it's more so modern.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think it's, I'm just looking at the watch right now. From the article that just went live today. I think it's the 12 at the 12 numeral at the 12 o'clock marker.
Yeah,
obviously,
yeah.
I think it is the thing that kind of like adds that like nice touch of like it's like a contemporary kind of look to it.
Yeah. I agree that 12, that Arabic numeral 12 in like a sans serif font does
Right.
go a long way in that. So check that out. We've got more of this on the site right now. Very cool watch. And again, the pre-order December 1st to December 11th, I think. So if you're interested in that and you have patience, these might be right up your alley. There's another new watch that released that I know at least caught your eye and my eye, Zach Kazan, was a new watch from IWC in a range that I think is often overlooked these days. I've always found this range to be pretty handsome, though. Classy watches. It's the Portofino range, and they released a new perpetual calendar within this range. And there's the dial here, I think, is really quite beautiful. I'm really keen to see one of these in the flesh, which I have not. We are working on getting one in for review. But yeah, Zach, I don't know what about this watch kind of caught your eye, but when I saw it in an email or an Instagram post or wherever I saw it first, like I kind of paused and had to take a closer look at the dial. There's something. I can't quite put my finger on it. There's something like a little bit different that really kind of forced me in for a closer look on this watch.
I just think it's a very clean, legible perpetual calendar layout.
Yeah.
I think IWC has a great perpetual calendar layout. Like we see it in the I particularly love the Big Pilot perpetual calendars. They really look like an instrument cluster, but still like very very legible and readable, and like you have the sense that you have this like massive amount of like information in front of you. And in the Portofino, it's really stripped back. You have all the same information, but it's just like it's a lot cleaner. And I don't know, it's just like a very it's a beautiful watch. It's like the Portofino obviously is they're like a dressier line for IWC. This watch is going to be released in both gold and stainless steel, and I think like the stainless steel in particular, it's I forget off the top of my head what the price is, but it's not like ridiculous for a perpetual calendar, and certainly the type of watch you could just wear every day. With like a suede strap or like a strap that you can kind of like dress it down with, like I think that would be a really great watch to wear every day, which is how you should wear a perpetual calendar, I think, to kind of like get the most out of it. Yeah,
you're right. And I'll say it again, the level of restraint used in this watch is really quite impressive. There's no. I know there's just a really beautiful balance to everything going on this dial, and you're right. It's a lot of information to present in a like cohesive manner, and I think they've done that like wonderfully here. In particular, the kind of like just sterile areas within each of the subdials, and the day of the week inside of that, I believe that's a leap year indication.
I think that's right, yeah.
That's just like a small aperture at the bottom of that, but there's nothing else crazy things written anywhere or dials or gauges or anything like that. It's just really beautiful. My one qualm with this watch is that lug design. I think you guys know I'm not a huge fan of that style of lug. If that was in like kind of a more traditional lug case and steel, I think this would be very, very compelling watch. And honestly, I think they could do it like if they could probably keep it the same and maybe make the Roman 12 like an Arabic 12, and like it wouldn't be quite like sporty. It would be maybe a slightly less formal. It would be just kind of in this beautiful like I don't know, like neutral zone that I think you could really push one way or the other depending on the strap or your outfit or whatever you're using it for. But no, this watch is just terribly beautiful. I can't wait to see it in the flesh. What do you think of this thing, Thomas?
Yeah, even if they went with just a regular like baton marker at 12, right? Instead of like the Roman numeral, it kind of would like make it that more like less dressier and more like casual, more sportier, I guess. And I agree with you as well. I'm not a fan of like this like lug design where kind of the lugs kind of just stick out of a round case. But in fairness to this watch, like the lugs are short. I feel like in some watches it's just like it gets obnoxious to how far the lugs stick out of a round case.
Yeah.
But no, it's a handsome watch. And I do agree with you. Like there's a lot of like negative space inside the subdials, but it's not bothersome. And I don't know why. Like usually you see some texturing in there, but it's just like, it's, I can't pinpoint the reasoning why, but it's a handsome watch.
Yeah, it's a good look. So the case, steel and gold, as Zach mentioned, it's 40 millimeters in diameter. It's 12.7 millimeters in thickness, according to IWC.
That's pretty good for a perpetual calendar. It's like...
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. And in steel, it's $24,000. Like no small sum, of course, but for this kind of a watch, like I'd say that's a lot of watch for the money.
Yeah, absolutely.
So anyways, keep an eye out for that. We will have hopefully a lot more to say and some live hands-on reviews of that watch coming soon. And then the other big release that we thought we'd talk about this week came from Omega, and this was kind of like a surprise. I think I was like just about to leave to drive out to the farm, so kind of like had my computer away and all that kind of stuff, and then I start seeing these Omega Seamasters pop up. And this one, I think the first one I saw had that colorful kind of Jamaican gem bezel, and then I realized like what was happening. The 60th anniversary, I suppose, release of these Seamasters, with one gem set bezel and then another blue one that has like the tight wave design like we saw in whatever it was, 94, 95, with the original one, make a return here in the modern like Seamaster 300 case. So pretty sharp watches, I suppose, if you're into the Seamaster 300. And I know not everybody is. It's in some realms maybe not a controversial watch, but it seems to be kind of like a love it or hate it type of thing. I kind of like this execution of it. It kind of pushes it into like slightly weirder territory, which I kind of appreciate. What do you guys think? 60 years of James Bond, though. First of all,
it's wild.
And then these new watches. I just read a headline earlier this morning. I think Aaron Taylor Johnson or something like that was maybe in talks to be. I know they're kind of searching right now. So.
He's definitely one of the names that's been kind of like repeatedly rumored to be like the in the running for the next James Bond.
I didn't know he was British, by the way, but I guess he is. So anyways, I guess maybe it's too late to throw our own hats in that ring. But what do you think of this tribute from Omega to 60 years of James Bond? Is it fitting? Well, I guess they had to do it their own way, obviously. But what do you guys think of this watch?
Yeah, it's a cool watch. So like you said, it uses that like the tighter wave dial that we saw in GoldenEye from the 95 film. Pierce Brosnan was James Bond in that movie. And then you kind of just see this watch. It's kind of a mix. So I believe 1995 was when that was the first Omega, right? That it kind of was featured in a Bond film. So between that Omega in GoldenEye and the Omega that was featured in No Time to Die, I feel like it's like a blend of the two, right? So you have like I said, like the wave dial, but then you have it in the 42 millimeter case, and now it's in stainless steel as opposed to titanium, which the No Time to Die case was made out of. And I just like it too because it feels restrained. It doesn't have the red accents that you see on the regular production Seamaster 300. And I think this was kind of like the best way, or the best kind of like Bond edition watch, like without like it's screaming that it's like a James Bond watch, aside from like the 60 on the bezel, which kind of substitutes it kind of takes place after the triangle marker, and then the 60 is a different colored loom, other than the rest of the bezel, which is the blue loom. So yeah, I think it's cool. Yeah.
I had not put my finger on that. There's something that looked different about it, but you're right. The red accents that are on the dial are gone.
Yeah. Boy,
that works. That does wonders. It looks like the crystal too has it's like a dome bubble crystal compared to the other ones. But yeah, boy, those red details, that makes a big difference. Good eye. And that 60 on the bezel instead of the triangle. Very nice touches. And no 007 anywhere on the dial.
No. And they saved all that tribute stuff.
Yeah, they make up for it on the back.
Yeah, on the back. Yeah, but at least it's on the case back. So
yeah.
But I think it's a cool watch. I even think that whole I don't know if you guys seen that, like a video of like the animated case back with like it just kind of it simulates the intro of Bond like going into like the barrel. But I thought that was kind of cool, and I'm glad that they saved that for the case back.
Yeah, were you a fan of the mid 90s one?
Yeah, I mean, I liked it. I mean, I don't have a vintage Seamaster 300. I do have a vintage Seamaster, but I've always kind of like looked into these watches. I mean, I myself like was a fan of their the GMT version with the modified edit movement. But I've always been fond of these watches, and it was just interesting to kind of see the one that Pierce Brosnan wore in GoldenEye in '95 and the one that Daniel Craig wore in 2021. I think that's when No Time to Die came out last year. I don't know what year we're in right now, but who knows now? Was
that just last year?
It was last year. Yeah.
Was it? Okay. Yeah. Okay. That was pretty. I enjoyed that one.
Yeah, it was good.
Likewise.
So this is okay. Well, that's interesting. Yeah, I got to tell you, I was not, I think, a fan. There was like a real 90s-ness to that watch that's only kind of like recently started to kind of grow on me. And I see them come up for sale like every now and then for, I don't know, $3,000 or something like that. So I think this new platform, though, I think it works with this dial. I think it looks quite sharp. The case back. I mean, I like Bond, but I wouldn't like buy paraphernalia with Bond stuff on it. But it's the case back, so I don't know. Where do you fall on this, Kazan?
There are things I like about this watch. There are things I like about this watch a lot, and there are things like I don't like about it. Like I don't particularly care for the case back. Like that feels like a just like a straight up gimmick to me, and it's not like. Sure. I don't care. Like if that adds like a certain like dollar amount to the price, to have like the animated Bond on the case back, I would just prefer to have like a closed case back.
Sure.
It just doesn't do it for me. And I feel the same way about like the Snoopy thing that they did on the Speedmaster. Like I don't know. Like I just don't need my watches to have that sort of like party trick. But on the other hand. Like I love that like the original Seamaster 300, like that original Bond watch, which was quartz, by the way. And, like watches in that family, like I really have a big soft spot for, just because they were just so ubiquitous when I was starting to like kind of figure out like what nice watches were, like I was at like the perfect age to be exposed to those watches, like in the Bond movies and in like advertisements in every magazine I picked up, and they were just like all over, like mall jewelry stores, and like they were everywhere. And so I definitely have a soft spot for that. And I like that they kind of made this watch look like that. I'd be curious to see this dial in person. I've only seen like the Omega supplied photos, which are like very like rendery, and I'm not sure like what it looks like in real life. But I mean, I'm a fan of the aesthetic of the watch. I just kind of wonder. I mean, I know why. Like it's an anniversary watch, but like these watches are just like they're everywhere. Like to your point, Blake. Like if you do a watch recon search right now, like you can find, probably several dozen of these of the original like 90s version for sale at any given time, and they're not like super expensive just because like they made so many of them. So I don't know, like I kind of have like mixed feelings about that. I love the gold gem set one though. I think that one, like I think that's great. Like
okay,
sign me up for that.
Let's get to that. Oh yeah, so just to tie up the steel one, it's $7,600. The regular version of the watch on a steel bracelet is $5,400. So it's a little over $2,000 more expensive. I don't see anywhere that this is a limited edition. I suppose even if it is an Omega limited edition,
but an open edition.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So, all right. So and then so there's another one. That's Canopus Gold, on Canopus Gold, with, is that a meteorite dial?
It's they call it a natural gray silicon dial. So
natural gray silicon.
Who knows what that means? It has like a meteorite kind of aesthetic for sure.
Yeah. And it's got this really beautiful gem set bezel. It kind of ranges from like dark greens to light greens to yellows to dark yellows and back and forth. I've gathered this is something to do with Jamaica.
Yeah, so it's based on the Jamaican flag, which is where Ian Fleming, the author of the James Bond books, he had an estate in Jamaica, as I understand it. So there's a Jamaica tie-in to the Bond franchise through Fleming. Got it.
Yeah, very distinctive. This one. I don't see a price listed anywhere on the.
It's like 140 grand, I think.
Whoa. Okay.
So, yeah.
Wow.
So it's not on my Hanukkah list this year, but it's. I think it's very cool looking. Like it's I don't know. Like I've talked about how I like these kind of like interesting gem set sports watches. Like I have a real I don't know, I wouldn't call it a guilty pleasure because I don't really believe in guilty pleasures. You just kind of like what you like, but it sort of like falls into that category for me.
Yeah. Okay. I'll buy that. Wow. Yeah. 104. Yeah. You could have your Moser Vanta Black Tourbillon and a Speedmaster and the regular Seamaster, and have yourself a nice little collection there. Wow. So, all right.
I like that you called it my Moser Vanta Black Tourbillon. Thank you. That just made the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. I appreciate that.
That, by the way, the hands-on with that watch is now live. If you haven't caught that, be sure to check it out. We'll put a link down below to that one. So, Thomas, would you wear a gem set watch, and would you wear that gem set watch?
You know what? I appreciate gem set watches. My question here is, does the bezel rotate? I mean, like, is that a fixed bezel?
It has a triangle, like, clear diamond at the top, right? That's got to mark something.
I think it does rotate. I would be surprised if it didn't.
So that's kind of cool, right? I mean, you can kind of like change up like how that watch looks in a way. But how am I supposed to time my macaroni and cheese with with a gem set dial, you know, so
yeah, exactly.
maybe I could just use the hands and markers, right? Just like every other normal person.
Yeah, that's the other thing about these Seamasters 300s have a very distinctive hour and minute hand where it's kind of like a set of poles with or like you're flying a kite with a couple of strings, and then the kite on the very end of the string is like the tip of the hand.
Yeah.
And it's like hollow everywhere in between. I don't know how to describe this thing. And I know some people don't particularly care for those. They've kind of grown on me though. Yeah, do you guys like the modern Seamaster 300 at all?
I owned one briefly. I had the blue one, with the ceramic dial, and I sometimes think about you can, because like this is the kind of watch that you can find in the secondhand market. Like they're always there, and like they're pretty affordable, like secondhand. And I sometimes think about picking one up because I had the blue one on a bracelet, and the bracelet is not good because it doesn't taper at all, and it just aesthetically it's not really my thing. I think I'd like it more though on the OEM rubber strap. But I'm a fan of like the form factor, and I like the wave dial. I think the ceramic dials and the new ones are really striking and have like a really great kind of like I don't know if luster is the right word for it, but like they have like they play with light in like a really interesting way, and I think they're nice looking. I'd like to try one on rubber at some point.
Yeah, you're right. These are very interesting dials in the flesh. They do have a really I don't know, a real allure to them in different lights, and they're like laser engraved. With that, I like that they have I like the different colorways that they have on this, that they're kind of slightly unusual, like that gray in the blue one, and there's like kind of a dark green. So they go beyond just like the white and the black, which I kind of appreciate. Even though the white and the black one I think is quite striking as well. I don't know what colorway I would go for on this one, but I also like the Necton edition. I think is pretty cool, and I like the ones that have those. It's like a full steel. I don't know if it's steel, but like bezel, so it's not like a ceramic insert in it or anything like that. I think those look pretty nice. Yeah, I feel like this is a watch that's like maybe just a couple of tweaks away from being like really amazing. Of course, like the helium escape valve over there at 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock or whatever. It's like a whole crown, which feels like a bit more like I don't have a problem, I guess, with watches that use those things if it's kind of incorporated in a way that doesn't deter from like my ability to, I guess, wear and use. I guess that doesn't really, but it's a real like appendage hanging off the side of the case there. So I don't know. I guess if they had like kind of a more flush solution in the case for that, I think there's a really sharp watch here.
I feel like at this point though that helium escape valve is just like it's so like core to the design of this watch that I think I don't know if people would complain if they just got rid of it or did like made a similar system to like what Rolex does, but just like the valve on the case band that sits flush to the case, but like it would be something else if it didn't have that helium escape valve. It's
part of the identity now.
Yeah,
right?
It's just sort of like, like I said, it's just part of what this watch is. And like I agree, like it would be aesthetically better, probably like if it weren't there. I can tell you just like my experience wearing, these watches over the years with the, with that helium escape valve, like it doesn't really impact like wearability on my wrist, like in any perceptible way. Like it just, it's just not in a position that like where you can like even feel it. For me personally, obviously everyone's wrist is different, but but I hear what you're saying. It just kind of like juts out. It's not it breaks the symmetry, and obviously it's totally unnecessary for like 99.9% of the people who will own this watch.
But you're right. Maybe it is just a part of the identity. I know that one of the people that is like kind of the most critical of helium release valves on watches. A good friend of ours, Jason Heaton, he is quite fine. He believe he has a white dial version, and he wears it all the time. So, and he's an actual diver, unlike us. So who are we to complain about this kind of stuff? All right. So where does this watch sit? Where does the Seamaster in general sit in the pantheon of Bond watches for you guys? Does it register, or, since we kind of grew up in a certain era with Pierce Brosnan as Bond for the most part, is Omega kind of the quintessential like Bond watch for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, for me at least, that's who I associate Bond with, Pierce Brosnan and Daniel Craig, and I mean, the watch they wore was the Omega Seamasters. So I mean, watch wise, that's the watch I identify with Bond.
Okay.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Like that's like Pierce Brosnan is like very much like the Bond that I like grew up watching, and so I like, as far as Bond watches go, like for me it's that Seamaster 300 that he wore, which is like the iconic Bond watch for me.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
What about for you? What's when you think Bond watch, like what's the first thing that?
Well, I get like the first thing that pops into my head is usually a Rolex, just because like I've always been into kind of like the lore of vintage Rolexes from pretty early on. So I guess there's a part of me that is that like the 6538. In watches like the 6542 that also appear, like those are I guess are watches that kind of come to mind. And if I'm not mistaken, Ian Fleming like wrote the character, like he actually references Rolex specifically in the book. So I think that's usually what comes to mind. But yeah, I mean, obviously growing up with Pierce Brosnan, and playing that video game, that was all kind of like a part of, I guess, how I grew up experiencing Bond. But I guess I was never a huge like Bond guy in the movies. It wasn't really until like Casino Royale came along, and I was always been a fan of Daniel Craig. There was a movie that he was in called Layer Cake before he was in Bond that I really, really liked a lot. And as soon as he was announced as Bond, it kind of like clicked. I was like, yep, that makes a lot of sense. And my head went right to that movie. And he's a similar kind of like flawed, but like impossibly smooth and charismatic guy, but still like, not well, like a not well person, and who like struggles with a lot. And I really liked that kind of element of that he brought to Bond. So I certainly, there's a lot more that I appreciated about, like, he became a much more interesting character to me when he became Bond as opposed to Pierce Brosnan. Nothing against Pierce Brosnan. But so I guess, and then in I think it's Casino Royale when she references, or nice suit and nice watch, Rolex, and he says Omega, like that's always on the train, like that's always kind of like in my head as well. But I feel like they've come out with a lot of kind of like strange limited editions around these things through the years, and none of them have ever quite hit for me until like that titanium one. But that was it took the whole like brown yellow thing like really far to me, like a little over the top. So I feel like this one that we're seeing here is one of the nicer executions I've seen of a Bond watch, minus like all the case back stuff, which again is not, I think if they had a closed case back with a small like 007 inscription or something, it would have been a little more this is like really wow, it's in your face.
Yeah, like from the dial side, it's very restrained, and then like there's absolutely no restraint on the case back. But I think, like, to Thomas, your point, like that's where you like want that like lack of restraint to be, is on the case back, and like it's a very attractive watch from the from the front. When I first saw it, I kind of was like, it didn't really like. I thought it was like a little bit boring, like to be honest. But like after kind of like digging in, and kind of like, just like understanding, like what they were like setting out to do, with this watch. It kind of grew on me a little bit, but
Yeah.
yeah.
So now that Daniel Craig, I guess, is no longer in the driver's seat there, Omega still clearly has a relationship with the estate or whoever owns the rights of this. It seems like for the long haul now, if they're still releasing Bond watches, not around a movie or anything like that, or around an actor or anything. But Daniel Craig still seems to be. Was he a part of this release at all?
I think he was.
He was at the release. Okay.
Oh, was he? Oh, I missed that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just sent photos of the London celebration with him there. So yeah, I don't know what the nature of all that stuff or how that's going to pan out, but it certainly has me curious to like where this will go once they start spinning up like a new chapter in these movies, or in with a new person, and new stories and all that kind of stuff, and how that will end up manifesting itself in those new movies if Omega will continue to have a lock on it.
I think regardless of Rolex or Omega, I kind of like identify the whole like wearing a sports watch with like a tuxedo type of thing. Like I feel like that's like when it like started. I don't know if that's exactly when it started, right? But like Sean Connery wearing a Submariner with an undersized NATO, timing a bomb at the beginning of the movie, right? I feel like that was like around the time period where like people were actually using these things for like diving, so I feel like for like that character to paint that picture of just like, oh, this is just like you could just wear this like with a tuxedo, or like, I just think that idea of just like challenging what watch, like which watch, like there's a specific watch to like wear for a specific occasion. Like, we've always talked about this, like just wearing like, a dress watch, like with like a gray strap and with like jeans and a t-shirt. Right. So that whole like idea as well. But just in general, like I just think that idea of like Bond and like watches like, and like wearing a watch that's like not for like that particular situation type of thing.
But it's always been like function over form with him, because there was a long stretch of 15 years or so through the mid 80s, late 80s that he was wearing like digital Seikos and stuff like that, right? So it was always kind of seemed to be like, well, that's like the tool that makes the most sense for the job, rather than like the most dapper watch that you could find.
Yeah.
Right. So, I think that's all a part of the charm of like the Bond watch at the end of the day. And that's why a lot of those, I think those Seikos kind of fill a nice hole there. So I like that part of the lore. If you guys could have any other brand step in to be like a Bond watch, is there any, or do you think Omega is like, that's the right brand for this guy or gal, whoever might end up being the next Bond?
Honestly, I think Omega's a pretty good fit. I think what I'd like them to do is maybe like slow down on the on like the novelty stuff, and just like maybe like a watch like this that's like that has like even less Bond, like stuff associated with it, and just like make that the Bond watch. I don't know if I'm if that makes any sense, but like you don't need to plaster like the 007 logo and like James Bond silhouette all over a watch for it to be like the Bond watch. You just like release a cool watch and say like, this is the Bond watch, and have him wear it in the movie, and like make it a watch that's like can be like appreciated by like casual collectors and Bond aficionados alike, because because
that would be the ultimate cool Bond watch.
yeah, I think so. Because like I think we're probably on the same page that like the like the watches, like the Omega's released some pretty crazy like Bond related stuff with like like the gun barrel dial and like the 007 like counterbalance in the second hand, and like all kinds of like very like on the nose stuff, and like that just doesn't interest me whatsoever. So
yeah, I want the watch that he would wear. What, like in universe, this person is not wearing a watch with like their own likeness emblazoned on the the back of it, or their call sign on the counterweight of the second stand. Like, no, give me the watch that he would be wearing in universe. You know, I would love to see them like really embrace the whole kind of like function side and make, you know, maybe like an Annie-Digi tool watch or something like that goes on the next Bond in some kind of like ridiculous fashion. I think would be pretty sweet. But no, I agree. I think it's a good fit, and I you know, Omega clearly has fun with it. You know, unlike, you know, Rolex would never in a million years like make a Submariner with 007 plastered all over it or anything like that. Like, there's a part of me that likes that Omega.
I mean, you say that, but at the beginning of this year, could you have predicted that Rolex would make a watch that could, like, a titanium dive watch that could literally go to the bottom of the ocean that would be like 20 millimeters thick? You never know.
That wasn't on my bingo card. That's for sure. So, but yeah, we'll see. Let us know what watch you think Bond should be wearing whenever the next round of Bond films comes our way. What is the historic Bond watch to you? Let us know down below. We'd love to hear it. In closing, I want to say thank you to everyone who made it out to our meetup in Nashville. Kat and I were there at the W Hotel the weekend before Thanksgiving. There was an amazing turnout. Some really, truly spectacular watches showed up, including an original Gerald Genta jump hour watch, which was really awesome to see. FP Journe tourbillons and pretty much everything in between. So if you stop by, we do truly appreciate you making the time for us. And if you would like us to come and hang out in your city and have a get together, let us know where you live. We'd love to do more of that kind of stuff going into next year. With that, I hope you all had a wonderful Thanksgiving, and we will talk to you next time. Take care.